Hi everyone, it's FCA. I was taking off my pirate makeup, which I will link you to the how to turn a vampire costume into a pirate costume below, so you can see the scars that I had on that I used with Rigid Collodion. So this is what it looks like. In comparison to my hand, it's not a very big product. This is 0.25 fluid ounces. And I used that much of it. It was filled to the top, putting on my scarves, which were about 6 to 11, 12 layers each. Some tips with Rigid Collodion is what I'm going to do now. So if you're going to be making the scars with the scarring liquid, here are some things to keep in mind. Go in the direction that your hairs are going while you're applying it. So you apply it like you would a nail polish. You can do this if you scrape off the sides. This has a very strong smell, so do this in a decently ventilated area, especially if you have lung or asthma problems. That's something to be aware of. But you can scrape this off, and you should have enough to make your scarring layers. That's perfectly fine. I didn't have any issues with that from tapping it off a little bit. But make sure you paint it down in the areas that your hairs are going, because that will become important later. And when you're removing them, remove them in the direction. So if you have a scar here, move it in the direction that your hairs are going, not the opposite direction. It's just more unnecessary pain is what that is. I'm going to try and show you this right there. How well can you guys see? Probably not very well. But I assure you, it is quite red and a little bit inflamed right there, because not only did I not paint it in the direction of my hairs, but I ripped it in the opposite direction as well. And some hairs were taken with it, and that was the most painful one. I think the one on my hand might be easier to see. The same thing kind of happened here. I ripped it in the other direction, and this one was going horizontally, so that's that little mark. You'll probably be able to see on my face a little bit, maybe. Yeah, you can kind of see the redness there a bit. Where I had scars, and this scar hurt the worst, and then the one on my chin hurt the least, and then the ones on my cheeks were in the middle. So just make sure you go in the directions of your hairs and pull down when you're removing it in the directions of your hairs, because that's how you take it off. You peel it off. So make sure you do that in one quick swipe. It'll all come off at once. It might have a bit of a zing kind of pinch to it, but it won't be the most terrible pain you ever went through by far. Also, when you're making the scar tissue colors, this was one that I used for a gash on my skin. Make sure that you use your eyeliner or your eyeshadow, whatever you're using. Make sure you do that first before applying your Rigid Collodion. So don't do this first. Make the color of the scar and the placement of the scar first. Then add the layers of Rigid Collodion. Add this in layers and let the layers dry. That is very important. Don't apply the layers while the layers are still wet. It won't give as good an effect, I found. Because on my chin, I kept applying it while it was still wet. And it looked okay, but it didn't look as intense and as indented as the other scars that I had let dry in between the layers. So if you're doing multiple scars, what I recommend doing is do a layer, 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 and then by the time you get back to the first one, it should be dry. Put it over. Yes, I wanted to share that with everyone. And for the love of any deity that you believe in, please do not put this by your eye, because as I said, you're ripping it, well, not ripping it, you're peeling it off. So you don't want to have something by your eye and trying to pull it off. Your eyelids and eye area are very thin areas of skin. They're very sensitive to begin with. You don't want stuff with this strong of a smell by your eyes. I find that irritates them to no end. So do not put Rigid Collodion by your eyes. I suppose like right where your cheekbone ends would be the closest that I would get to my eye, and then above my eyebrow. Those would be the places, if you had to get somewhere close to your eye, those would be the safe places. Don't put it anywhere where inside your orbital bone, so where you can feel your bone circle. Do not put Rigid Collodion. It's more pain than it's worth. Your costume is not worth that unless you're getting paid to be in that costume. Meh. So I just thought I would share that with you guys, and give you some tips if you're using Rigid Collodion. So I will talk to you all later, and have a happy Halloween. Bye!